Woohoo! And we're live once again on another Tuesday. I have the awesome Kevin D. Turner in the house
Yep,
today, and
thank
we're
you.
talking about a cool topic, which is da-da-da-da, your brand's digital footprint. This is like so cool. This is so cool. So, Kevin, just in case somebody doesn't know you, quickly just tell us who you are and what you do, and then we're going to get stuck right in.
I'm a brand strategist with a focus on LinkedIn. That's what I do. I've been here since 2005. Been optimizing profiles and working with people on how do you build your content, how do you approach things. Also have I'm a partner in TNT Brand Strategist, and we also do resumes, bios, write ups, ghostwriting, those kind of things, website writing, and everything else. So stay very busy. Got a huge passion for LinkedIn. And I'm kind of one of those who like to look into the details, right? You hear stories, you should do this, you should do that.
Yes.
And believe it or not, the data that LinkedIn allows you to download will tell you whether those stories are true or not. And that's kind of the nice thing about it. You don't have to believe everything you hear on the internet or on LinkedIn, right? You can actually go in there and test it. See, does that really make sense?
I
And
love it.
so I love that piece of what we're going to talk about today.
It's great. It's exciting. And you're a data nerd. Like, I'll
Yeah.
just, it's like you're always like, kind of saying, well, I can tell this from the source code that this is coming down the pike. And I'm like, what? And it's like you just kind of know all these things. And your post on Friday, recently, attracted to me this topic about how you talked about, your brand, that LinkedIn is making inferences about you based on your activity, your profile, there's just so many different data points that we are engaging in. And LinkedIn is basically, it's like we're the product, right? We're the product of LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
It's getting all sorts of stuff on us. And it's like, if you see nudes, why did I say that? If you see ads, I don't see nudes on LinkedIn. If you see the wonders of live, if you see ads in your news feed, it's because LinkedIn thinks you're the appropriate person to send them to, because there's like so many people on this platform. They have to do this and target you. And the great thing, though, is you tell us that LinkedIn gives you the ability to kind of peek behind the curtain and see what stuff they're collecting. So can you just kind of summarize this for some people, because they might not have a clue you can even do this?
And it is that simple. LinkedIn as a platform, although we all have fun on it, right? We've made some great relationships. We made some business on it. All these good things happen there. It is not a social good site. It's a business. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. They have some good things they do and allows us to do a lot of things, but it is a business. And yes, we are the product. So, it's a $6 billion company, and 60% of that revenue every year comes from packaging up members to sell to recruiters and to sell to other business people. So you've got Talent Solutions, right? And you've got Sales Navigator. That's where the money's coming from. Advertising, there's some in there. There's a couple other things they do, but those are the cores. So if we think about LinkedIn in the sense of we're their product and those are their core businesses, and then we look at the data that LinkedIn is collecting and allows us to see, we can then figure out what they're doing with it. So, an inference basically means if you like A and B, you might like C. We go to lots of sites on the internet. They all do this, right? Go to YouTube. It's going to tell you what the next video is you might like to watch. Netflix at night, going to tell you what movies you might like to see. Sometimes they're really accurate, right? Sometimes they're not. And that's kind of what's going on in LinkedIn. Now, the beauty of LinkedIn is if you see what they're collecting, you have a chance to influence that, to correct it if it's not correct. So that's the nice thing about it. There's really kind of two types of data, and that's the data that we provide LinkedIn, right? When we fill out our profile, when we select the filters within the profile, like titles and things like that, we're providing them a certain amount of data. We have some control over that. And then there's the data that LinkedIn goes out there and sources from other places on the internet, Facebook, Google, all sorts of different trackers, even the LinkedIn trackers that go out there and kind of see what we do outside of the business world, really, right? It's kind of like they're peeking in our window or following us around town. Don't know if I want my employer to do that. So what I want to do is, if there's anything like that, I don't want that into my business mix. So I'm going to control it. So, I always tell people on LinkedIn, make sure you're using a plugin that is going to block these third-party trackers that are going to contribute into LinkedIn. I use Privacy Badger. It's a really nice one. There's a bunch of them out there, and I change them up every now and then to try them out, and they do a great job. So what I end up with on LinkedIn is mostly the information that I either provide or they infer within what I do on LinkedIn. That to me gives me a better business profile.
Got it.
I think everybody wants that a little more control, right?
Right. Now, getting this data, this is something that's just private to me, correct? So when I do my data archive, I can't do your data archive. And we're actually going to share a little bit of both of ours today, just, to illustrate some points here. But that's the one thing, is that other people can't go and download all your stuff, just you can. And just as a tip for people, I was like, oh, it wants my password. So it was even more than just clicking. Like, somebody couldn't be using my computer and clicking it. You need to, there's that second step, which is your password. And of course, that it was just like, oh, great. Now I got to go find my password. So that's just something you need to have. And then to me, there was the extra security measure of, it gets emailed, but you get like emailed a link. And then you got to go back to LinkedIn. So I think it's good that there's all those steps. What do you think about that?
I think it's important. It's important to protect that. And you and I, we're very, very different. We have a lot of things in common that we love, but we're very different. So our data is going to be very different, right?
Yes.
And because some of that data is interpretive, we don't want somebody else to see it until we see it, right? We want to make sure it's right about us. And so I love the fact that LinkedIn, in that sense, is very privacy protective. Nobody else gets that information. It's all coded within LinkedIn, so it can do the right things with that information. But, that I like the fact you can't get it on each other. So
yes, because that would not be fun.
And our files are going to be different. What your file looks like is going to be different than what my file looks like and anybody else's. What are they tracking? What are they doing? And why? You can kind of figure it out with the clues that they give within each one of these files. And so to me, the most important file, or the easiest one to understand is what they call Inferences of You, right? And that's where LinkedIn is really looking at, what did you put on your profile and what have you been doing on LinkedIn, right? That they can then interpret things about you, things that they don't know, that they want to be sure, that this is here. And so what you'll notice too is there's categories within that. There's kind of career, there are business categories, there are marketing categories, there are sales categories within that. And all of those are kind of being used by different groups within LinkedIn. So if you've interacted with Talent Solutions, if you've ever gone through a sample, you will have more of that tracking you. If you've done looked into Sales Navigator, that becomes the sales components in there where they start tracking you. So depending on what you're doing, you're kind of opening up more files, right? And a little more information. So
can I just
find that fascinating.
Can I just pull ours up real quick, and
Absolutely.
then we can just show it. So here's my file. So again, mine only did career in inferences. And here's just a clue. Mine's 1 page. Kevin, yours is 2 pages. So that was kind of interesting that you had so much more than me. And it doesn't think that I'm a human resource professional. It doesn't think I'm a people leader, which is kind of sad. And I thought, I love this category. It said likelihood to be a marketer and I got 0.99999. It's like pi or something, And I to be honest with you, I didn't really know what that meant. Like, it's like, is there somebody who should it be one, or I'm almost a marketer, or what
I,
does that even mean?
I think that means 99% a marketer.
Okay.
Right? If you
Okay.
use it in a percent sense. So you're 99% a marketer. You're definitely not a human resource person, according to them. I think
Right.
I got a 35% marketer, and it used to be closer to 99. So I've
Okay.
done things that have changed that.
Yeah, I think you've gone down, because you're 0.03. So I'm more of a marketer. And maybe I'm salesy. Maybe it's LinkedIn is going,
Well,
he's
I got
awful
a high
salesy.
score for sales. So mine changed from marketing to sales, where I wanted to put more of the sales piece out there. And so that did change. But what I love about this particular file, whether we're looking at yours or mine, right? You've
Right.
got your category, and then you've got your type of inference, and then you've got your description. And within that description, you can kind of extrapolate how are they getting there. Like the very first one on yours is fairly easy. They're trying to check to see if you're in HR. And so they looked at your industry, right? And they looked
Yep.
at your titles,
Yep.
So, if somebody wants to, let's say they're in real estate and they want to transition out of real estate, right? You want to select an industry that's not real estate, and you want to select, instead of real estate agent, maybe sales representative, right?
Mm.
And so you can manipulate this outcome. So that way they're not serving you things based on that. So this is one of the reasons why on your profile, you don't get a lot of HR ads, right? HR software, HR this, HR that, because they've determined you're not HR. Now,
I get all the marketing stuff.
Yeah, you're getting more of the marketing stuff. And so that's how they're using this. And it's really neat, because they've given you the trail, right?
Right.
They kind of told you, this is how we're going to do this. And I love the fact that that's there. That helps you then change that. One of the things I think fascinating is employment.
Yes.
They want to know if you're employed or not employed.
That's true. That's
now you think about it. Why would LinkedIn want to do that? Right? If a big piece of the revenue is selling us to recruiters, right?
Right.
Recruiters in general are paid by a company anywhere from 10 to 50% of our first year salary equivalent as a bonus if you land, right? If they land somebody.
Right.
And those companies describe you, or who they want as you, right? They describe them to a ridiculous point, because they're spending so much money, right? And they call it the purple squirrel. Is the definition, the word for it. Have you ever seen a purple squirrel?
No.
No, now go find me 3 for Friday, right? That's kind of what they're doing. Well, part of the purple squirrel definition, the number one thing is steal them away from the competition. Right? So if LinkedIn knows this, and then knows their biggest customers, recruiters, and their biggest demand is, I need employed, this becomes an important factor. So if you're unemployed, if you have a gap at the top, right? You've taken the date off the last job position, or, and this is kind of the crazy thing, and you can test this, or if you've added in the work gap, right? The new feature, work gap.
Right.
You'll also notice it will stay unemployed. So you think you're completing a profile, right? And everything looks great, and they say you're all-star now, but they're still reporting you as unemployed. So to me, what's interesting about that is you can kind of prove that that tool that they've provided us doesn't really do what we think it does. It doesn't make us employed. It doesn't make us complete. And it actually reduces our findability in search. So that's why reading this data, there are better ways to do it. Find a temp agency and join it. Create your own business page and say, I'm consulting if you are, right? Volunteer for an organization and put that in as your position. So, those things to me are really important. Another one that surprised me was stability, career stability.
Career stability here.
And I can't see where that is.
It's third line. It says employee with consistency in industry, company, job title, and other factors, you got to know, what did I
I
get? Let me
know,
just go
because I
back.
am completely unstable, according to LinkedIn.
I'm
So,
stable. I'm
what is
stable.
interesting, I've been tracking this file for many years, and I've always had a yes. I did
Ah,
something last year that was very different, and I added into my profile, I added the fact that I do podcasts, right? I'm a
right.
guest, I'm a speaker. So I added my own little independent, speaker business page and added that to my profile. And I also added the
Smart.
fact that I was a moderator for Fab Four and Friends on Clubhouse. And I added that as a position. Because I added those two positions,
You're
LinkedIn thought I'm
unstable.
unstable because I've got 3 jobs right now. So if anybody advises you something like put your volunteer work in your work experience or put your board positions in your work experience, what you're doing is you're making this unstable statement to LinkedIn.
Ah,
So
interesting.
does a recruiter want a stable employed or an unstable employed or unstable unemployed?
Wow.
Right. And again, if 60% of LinkedIn's business comes from that, that's the driver behind everything else, how the site works.
Wow.
So if you're having
Wow.
findability issues, if people can't find you, if you're not getting recruiters calling you, an adjustment like that can make a huge difference.
That's
That's
huge.
yeah, that's part about kind of reading into this data. What does it mean and how is it affecting you? And so people don't realize that we think we've got a brand, right? We've written it out. We've tell everybody all the time, but the data may be telling a different story. My
That's a
data did.
tweetable.
Yeah. So now
That's a
I've got to go back
tweetable.
and I've got the debate. Do I get rid of those 2 things? I'm not looking for a job. I have my own company. Do I get rid of those 2 things because they're throwing this little moniker out there of not a
Right.
stable employee? I may do that one day and see. And it does take about 30 days for a change to affect.
Oh,
It's
that's
kind of
good
an
to know.
average. And I think that's because LinkedIn actually will index and scroll through every single profile once every 30 days.
Oh,
Problem is, you don't know
okay.
when your 30 days are, right? It could be
Got it.
tomorrow and you'd change this file immediately, or it could be 30 days from now. So, you
Interesting.
can change it. And that's kind of the neat part about it. So it'll go back
So,
in there and it'll bring up a whole new series of answers to this. Um,
sure, sure, sure. So, why do you have a second page? Like, why you have, like, look at all these inferred interests. I don't have any of these. So, what, like, yours is like affinity for electrical vehicles, which is,
uh,
interested in higher education, interested in credit
yeah.
cards,
But and
So,
look at the definition. Now, a credit card one, I'm not sure why. But if you look at the definition, it usually will say that I'm either following companies, right?
ah,
Or my
okay.
activity. Now, I don't believe I've had a lot of activity, let's say on electrical vehicles, but I do follow some electric vehicle companies because I'm always fascinated by that product. So I'm following a few of them interesting enough, at like the CEO level when they used to connect, right?
Right.
Because a couple of years back, nobody was interested in electrical cars. Now they all are, right?
Right.
So I connected with them and they see that. So a lot of the inferences they're drawing on us also happen to be our network as well.
Ah,
So
so you have a much wider network than me, which could be leading to all this, and you probably
exactly.
have more activity than me as well.
Possibly. Yep.
So, okay, okay, that
So
that makes sense.
to me,
Now, is
that's
there an
fascinating, but it can also get a little confusing, right? So sometimes when
That's true.
we narrow our focus on LinkedIn, we're going to narrow some of these files, and hopefully that makes it simpler for LinkedIn to service the right stuff. Now,
Right.
when we're talking about serving us the right stuff, I'm not just talking about advertising. To me, I couldn't care less. I'll pass an ad, right? I'll delete it. I'll tell them I've seen it too many times. Ad doesn't matter to me. But if I was a job seeker, right? And I wanted a particular type of job, I would want LinkedIn to serve that to who's looking for that job or to send that job to me, right? And so that's why it's really important, especially in these career areas, that we have those right if we want to move forward. So
Makes sense.
if you see
That
one in
makes
there,
sense.
Like if you wanted to be in HR, you would know you need to make some adjustments, right? To make that a yes, not a no. And so those
Yep.
are the kind of things that we can read into this data, which I think
I
is
love it.
really neat to do. So
That's
back
good.
to
It's
your
good.
network. And, everybody tells you what your network is your net worth, right?
Mm,
It is having an impact. If you think about a few, you always hear about this, right? Recruiters, they go back and they do a search history into all your other social media. And then they look at what you're doing on LinkedIn and they decide whether you're going to be a fit, right, for their organization. So
right.
they're looking at that. So, if you use a lot of swear words, it might not be good for a Christian book company, right? So, or, so they're looking for those kind of fit and kind of, pieces like that. It used to be done manually. It took a good recruiter some time to kind of do that background research. Now it's being done digitally. So that's how they're pulling these things together. And one of the components, and this is why you should always know who is in your network, because
Right.
you could be guilty by association.
Mm.
So if you have somebody in your network who is always complaining and, making a fuss about their employer, that's going to become a little bit part of your brand if you respond to it.
I
Because of
agree.
that connectivity.
That's why I usually scroll past like total rants, like
Yeah,
sometimes, we all have something to say, but there's something constructive, but some people are just, they're just kind
that's
of
all they
bitching.
do, right? And if you
Yes.
associate with that, if you follow them still, they may be still a connection, but if you follow them and you associate with that, that does become part of your brand. And
Mm,
so that's a big piece of what LinkedIn is trying to do, because if we're their product, right,
yep.
they want to find the best product for that recruiter. So the recruiter has a good experience and the recruiter comes back and pays for talent solution longer. So
Right.
interesting enough, within that scope itself, LinkedIn is actually bringing in data from outside of LinkedIn to make some of those
Hmm.
kind of more HR type of decisions, including, did my company just have a bad quarterly report?
Mm,
Has my boss been at my company for 10 years and never been promoted? Right?
mm,
Those two things may make me somebody more likely to accept a new offer, right? Than
yep.
somebody who just got a new boss and everybody seems to have their position for 2 years and then they get promoted and the company's doing incredibly well and they're posting really good. They're taking that outside data and combining that in with what we're doing. So
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
be aware of it, And so sometimes if our company is small or organizations are small, we can bring that data to LinkedIn
True. True.
and kind of affect it in that same way. So I think a lot of good things going on here. What surprised you most when you were looking through your own?
The whole data or just the inferences? I think it was that it didn't pick up any of my interests, especially when I saw yours. It was just like, well, that's really strange because I would have thought it would have picked up, things I like. I thought it would have actually
Mhm.
showed something for video, to be honest with you, because I'm so interested in video. I'm interested in accessibility. I'm interested in writing and books. And it was like LinkedIn is seeing me as very vanilla. I'm that milk carton you're always drawing. And I
Mhm.
kind of was surprised that I was so bleh. I was really meh. And I kind of I felt a little sad that there wasn't very much on me. The rest of the data archive, we could have a whole other LinkedIn live about because there's so much there. To be honest, this could be a whole series. So I don't even want to go there because I do want to like get in some of our comments. But that was actually let me jump to the comments. But that that was just surprising. So I do encourage
Mhm.
everyone to go to Kevin's link to walk you through how to get your data archive. Takes 2 days. You need your password, but do it because you'll
Yep.
learn. Start with the inferences. Kevin also recommended look at the what was it? The ad targeting, the ad
Ad
targeting
targeting is really
file.
good. And
Yeah.
that's one place that you can change that video thing. If you went out and you followed 50 companies that specialize in video production,
Yeah.
all of a sudden they would probably have you down as a videographer.
Yeah. that would be good.
right? So there's ways, again, there's
It's like
ways to
master your
change this.
brand.
And, you know, it does go back to, you had a perception of you. We all do, right? And we get that. We know you're it for video, easy peasy. We get all that. But the digital trail isn't telling the same story to LinkedIn.
No,
And so the only way we find that out, right, is to look at this stuff and say, okay, it's not right. Here's how they do it. So how can we now change our approach to make that happen?
I like that.
That makes
That's
sense?
very,
Yeah.
that's very proactive and reactive all at the same time. I like that. I
And
like
you
that.
find out very quickly whether you're making a
Yes.
difference or not.
Yes. Good. I'm doing the homework and then I'm having you back. Okay, so we got our buddy Jeff Young in the front row supporting us. It's always awesome to have Jeff here. We just love Jeff. Okay, we have let's see. Oh, okay, they're trying to, somebody was trying to figure out how to get here. Okay, so we've got Debbie woohoo from West Palm Beach. She's here ready to soak up some gems. I hope this is just like a gem. Everybody should, this is like a treasure chest, isn't it, Kevin? It's like,
It absolutely is.
and you have access to it. And I don't know if other social media platforms allow this, but LinkedIn does. So that's pretty cool. We've got Niraj joining us from sunny Ireland. It's nice. It's sunny today. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And Niraj is somebody who is, I would infer a lot of good things about Niraj. So, I love Niraj. He's just great. He's just great. Jeff Young, I was there before. I didn't realize. Oops. Okay. Somebody got lost, but they got found. Okay. Gillian and Kevin, what a great topic you are covering today. This is one of those things, to be honest with you. I'll put in a plug for Jeff. He told me ages ago to download my data archive, and somehow I did, but I didn't get the second half. And that's the thing. You have to know it's a two-step process. It feels kind of fiddly because you got to kind of go back and wait for the second thing. It takes 24 hours and then you got to go and click on the link and then you download it. And then you're just like all these CSV files. And you're just like, if you're not a data person, it might freak you out, but there's stuff here. And this might actually be a reason to hire someone to help you interpret this. We're not all good data nerds. So maybe.
Well, and that's usually the thing. Everybody suggests download it. Everybody downloads it.
Then what?
That's it. That's it. It just sits there. They might open one or two files, but they don't really go in there and say, okay, that's working. That's not. How are they doing it? How can I change it? Right.
Yep.
And, it's a big piece of it. So it's not just to download. I always look at, if and we talked about this earlier, if you used to use a bad word all the time, right? And now you're looking to join a Christian publishing company. They're going to see those bad words out there, right? In your comments. So two things that you can do. You can pull the files that come along. There's one that's called comments. Makes sense, right? And the other one is shares. That's everything you've ever posted.
Which is very humbling.
Both of those files is, if you know what that word was, right? You could scan either file. It would tell you exactly where you made that word apparent. And it will give you a link to that comment or to that post. And believe it or not, you can go back and edit it.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
My first post, and I've got, and you can actually see your number. I got over 4,000 posts. My first post was back in, I think it was 2009, and it's still there.
Yeah.
So when you might not be able to find it easy, but digitally they can find it really easy. And that's the thing that we don't realize. All this stuff is still there on LinkedIn. It never went away. And that's one of the reasons when I do my articles on, the changes for the year, I always put them back to the post, because I know year after year after year, those posts are always going to be there, but people can't find them. And so it kind of becomes its own little archive directory. But that's what's amazing, is you can find this stuff and you can go back and correct it.
Yes. Yes.
I think Colin Langley was doing something unique, and he was getting the comments, right? and the connection file, and he was doing a pivot table for comments and connections. And what he identified out of that was who is not an active member of his network.
Is this Colin or Craig Langley? Craig Langley or Colin?
I'm sorry.
Craig. Okay, because I'm like,
and I thought that was brilliant because that is two things. If you want to go back and clean up your network, now you know who in your network has never cared to do anything with you, never collaborated with you, right? So I think that's kind of unique. Yes. There's another file in here that I like, and that's the invites. What I like about the invites, it's both what you have sent and what you have received. So if you wanted to go out and create a post about how many blank invites you've got, you can actually do it over your career on LinkedIn. You could even
would like this.
Has it gotten worse over the years, right? Because all the data is there. So there's all this.
She would like this.
Stuff. Yeah.
She hates those generic invites. They're like part of her pet peeve. So she would just be like, now I have my proof.
And I saw how many blank ones I sent. No, I believe it was because I said, hey, Gillian, mine's coming to you, right? Voice wise. I think that's where the work, because I don't do that. But you can even see how you can fall into those little traps. But it is interesting to go back.
Absolutely.
And I thought that was a brilliant comparison. So
yes,
there's a lot we can do.
So, okay. So Kevin, we have hit our, I'm going to say chuffed just to have LinkedIn, see if I'm swearing again. So I always have to throw in chuffed, it's just, that's my pet peeve too. It makes me laugh. So, okay. So we've talked about just the tip of the iceberg here. Literally, we could actually do an entire masterclass just on this, really, this is a huge, huge topic, but encourage everybody, please go back and read Kevin's article. It's not an article. It was a PDF. You can download it. It walks you through. Work with Kevin, because this is something that you might need to really figure out. Is your digital brand right or not? Look at the data. The data is sending out a message. You might not like it. So that is, please connect with Kevin, follow Kevin, go back and read the post. It's great stuff. Kevin, what would be the word of wisdom you'd want to kind of the takeaway to send us with today?
Don't just download it. That's what everybody does. Download it, go into each one of these files and read them. What's neat is LinkedIn has left you the breadcrumbs of how they get to the decision they made. So then you reverse that and you've got your new map, how to change that decision.
I love that.
So that's the whole thing. Don't just download it. You got to do more.
Got it. Super. Well, thank you so much for coming on this topic. And I want to have you come back into other parts of this download, because even the posts, the comments. So, okay, I'm already booking you again. So there we go.
Gillian, thank you for having me.
Just love it. Just love it. Okay. So bye everybody. Thank you very much for coming today. And I hope to see you guys next week on LinkedIn Live with Gillian. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.